Today I'm going to show you how easy it is to create some really fun and interesting top coats for your needle felted sheep. I'm showing you sheep, but you could use this for lots of different projects, but sheep in particular, it just lends itself to those particular projects. Now all of the sheep here, none of them have the traditional curls which you might think of. So these are the, let's say the sort of typical curls you might have in your stash. These are just pure white Wensleydale locks, and these are from Chiltern Wensleydales actually, and they are my favourite white wool lock supplier because they're always so clean. But anyway, back to the sheep. So all of these are covered in different types of yarns, so there's no curls. We've created the curls when we've actually added the yarn to the sheep. So this one has got a nice soft merino, thick merino yarn. This is more like a rug yarn on this little beauty here. And then these three here are all done from hand spun and hand dyed art yarn. And these are all from Highland Colours. She's an absolute whiz at creating beautiful blends. So I've used those on there, but you don't even need pure wool. You can use nylon wool, a pure nylon wool. You can use a blend, you can use cotton. And then World of Wool do this really gorgeous, it's a mohair buccal yarn, and it's really, really lovely. And it's got these little sort of buccal curls in them. A lot of you are probably familiar with them. And that is a brilliant, brilliant wool to use for a top coat. So I am going to quickly show you how to create the curls with a sheep. I have my naked sheep here ready. It looks a bit chilly, so I think we'll get it dressed. So I've just started here to add some yarn. This is pure nylon, nothing else. And this is a mix of cotton, nylon and wool. And you just create the curls as you go. There's no need for any messing about. Just bang it on and poke it in. This is the 38 star I'm using, so you can see a robust needle works pretty well with these. And then this is the cotton one. That felts in just as well. I would say takes a little bit more poking to get that to stay, a bit more resistance there, but again works absolutely fine. And you can have so much fun with these. You could blend your colours, you can imagine you end up with all sorts of beautiful mixes on the top coats. And again, a lot of people have just the nylon wool hanging about the house, so you can just grab a handful of whatever you've got and create your own curls. So I'm just going to pull those off, because what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to use the buccal yarn on this one. I just wanted to I'll show you quickly when you add the pure wool as well. If you add a thicker wool, then that's going to take less time. So it all depends on the look you are going for, and how much you felt also depends on the finished look. You can leave big loops, small loops. You can even cut the loops afterwards to give it like a frayed looking finish. And that is the wool that I used on this sheep here. But I'm going to go with this buccal yarn because this is the first time I've tried it. And I just think it'll look really nice when it's finished. So I've got a 38 star, 38 triangle will do just as well. Just a medium coarse needle to get this on. And you can see how that's going. It's mohair, so there's no reason why it shouldn't go on really well. But let's see how it goes on with a finer needle. It goes on just as well with a finer needle. And as long as you're careful, in fact, it's probably a little bit easier to poke in with a finer needle. And as long as you always keep that needle going in a straight line, never bend it, then there's no reason why you can't use a finer needle. Just go back to that 38 again. 38's fine, no problems with that. And then let's try, so we've got 2 needles in this one. You could do 2 needles. I would just be careful with 2 needles though, not to flatten the curls too much. So I'm just going to continue with the buccal yarn, and then we'll have a look when it's finished. And you can see there's no particular pattern to doing this. You can just grab some of the yarn that you're using, pop it on, felt it into place, and move on to the next. And don't overdo it, because you want to keep it nice and fluffy. Don't want to flatten it. And just grab those little bits and just keep moving around the sheep. But it's such a great way to add something a bit more interesting, and it's always the case. We've run out of the curls that we want, or we thought we had the curls and we don't. And Most people have some old balls of yarn of any kind, any colour, lying around the house somewhere. That's why it's always a great thing to use, because if you are stuck, it gives you a get out. And I just think it adds a whole lot of fun as well to the sheep. What I would say is when you are doing this, I've got a grey body under here, try and match the body. If you're doing a light colour on the top, have a light coloured body. It doesn't have to be white in particular, but make sure it's a light colour. And if you're using a dark colour, have a darker colour underneath. And it's just easier, so you don't have to worry about covering every single piece of the sheep. And the great thing as well is with the sheep, and when you actually put a top coat on, when you use the standard sort of Wensleydale curls that I had there, or the yarn, it just covers a multitude of sins. If legs are up on one side and longer than the other, and you've had to move them up and down and they don't look even, it doesn't matter, because you can just cover them, and all those little, I won't call them mistakes, but those little imperfections that you're not quite happy with don't matter. You don't have to worry about covering them up because they won't be seen anyway. See, I'm just grabbing hold of that wool just with my needle and just felting it gently down. I don't feel that it's any quicker using a multi-tool. I think it's just as quick. In fact, it's probably more accurate, I feel, because you can get a little bit deeper with a single needle. See how that's covering really nicely, and just keep unwinding that wool, keep adding until it's nicely covered. And this mohair gives such a sort of delicate finish as well. It's a really nice wool. I think I've got a darker one there as well. But yeah, this is from World of Wool. They have a brilliant yarn section actually. I will pop some links in the description for the businesses I have mentioned. I'm not affiliated, just sponsored posts. They're just the people that I have used for a long time. World of Wool since 2014, the same as Heidi Feathers. World of Wool's just stacked full of everything. I've been there and it's just such a great place to visit, so if you get a chance, do go. Beautiful up there. And it's a really nice drive. And just be careful when you are doing this as well that you don't catch your fingers, especially if it's white, because it will end up all over your sheep and it's not a pretty look. And I'm just making sure that everything's covered, because like I say, I picked the sheep with the grey body and put a white top on, but that's fine. And make sure you get around the legs underneath as well. Probably should have gone for a thicker yarn, it would have saved me loads of time, but this is speeded up anyway, so it won't make any difference to you. You see now that it's almost covered, how all those imperfections are now hidden nicely away. You could add a tail as well if you wanted to, but I never bother. I tend to just leave them. I quite like them without the tails. I don't think it's needed, but if you like to add tails and other details, then it's your project. You just add things as you see fit. It is entirely up to you. And these legs don't have any wiring. I've made those around a barbecue skewer, which no doubt you will, if you've seen any of my videos, you will have seen me using a barbecue skewer. It is the absolute must-have tool for felters. Any felter, it doesn't matter whether you're a beginner or you have been felting for some time. It's a couple of years in before I discovered it. Oh, what a revelation. Proper game changer it was. I sort of looked at it and thought, where have you been all my felting life? And it said, in your kitchen drawer, which is probably where you'll find one. So if you haven't got one in your stash, go and have a look in your kitchen drawer. Probably find one lurking at the bottom somewhere. Use the wooden ones. The wool sticks to it really well. And it just means you don't have to mess around with wire for most of your projects, unless it's a project that actually really needs wire. And to be honest, it actually doesn't take that much longer to do it this way than it would if you were just using the normal white sheep locks. And like I said, I wouldn't have had to use this much had I been bright enough to use a darker wool or a lighter body. But there you go, we live and learn. And then I'm just going to add some to the top of the head. This has kind of got a Heidi buzz cut, but we'll add some just so I can show you the effect it gives, because it does look really nice. Go steady here, hold that neck. I'm tucking it down behind the ears as well. Again, another great way to cover up any seams, imperfections, not mistakes. We don't make mistakes, we learn. We do something, we learn from it, and then we correct it on the next project, or we go away and practice it before we start the next project, depending on what it is. And then if you want, you can come all the way down the back of the head here. And voila, it is done. So that is how you use yarn to add beautiful top coats to your needle felted sheep, to add different details and a lot of fun, more character and some wild hair. If you've enjoyed watching today's video, then please give me a like and subscribe to support the channel. And if you have any questions about needle felting, then just pop your question in the comments and I will get back to you. And please stay tuned because there's another video tutorial coming right up.